Caribbean Sea, 360 nautical miles northwest of Venezuela, December 2025. A ghost ship just tried to punch through an American blockade. No flag, no answers, no AIS you can trust. And now, helicopters are in the air. This is the story of the tanker skipper, a dark fleet vessel US officials say was moving Venezuelan crude. And the moment Washington turned a single maritime seizure into something much bigger, a declared blockade of sanctioned oil tankers in and out of Venezuela. In the oil smuggling world, a ghost ship isn't paranormal. It's administrative invisibility weaponized. These vessels survive by confusing the map, AIS manipulation, turning transponders off, spoofing positions, or broadcasting misleading data. Flag games, false flags, frequent re-registrations, shell owners, ship-to-ship transfers at sea to launder origin and paperwork, loitering behavior near loading zones, then slipping into major shipping lanes. By December 2025, that's not theory. Reporting described ghost or dark fleet tankers still loading off Venezuela, highlighting how hard it is to choke off exports when ships can hide identity and origin. And Washington, under President Trump, signaled it was done watching. On December 16th to 17th, 2025, Trump announced what he called a total and complete blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. The details were initially murky, but the message wasn't. If you're on the sanctions list, the sea just became a checkpoint. Critics immediately called it an unauthorized escalation, the kind of move that can shift from pressure campaign to armed confrontation fast. But here's the key. This blockade rhetoric didn't come first. It came after the US grabbed a ship. Early December 2025. A very large crude carrier, Skipper, departs Venezuelan waters carrying roughly 2 million barrels of heavy crude, according to reporting citing PDVSA, the Venezuelan state-owned oil and natural gas company, and US officials. And then the ship starts acting like what maritime analysts watch for: uncertain identity signals, opaque ownership trails, false flag allegations. Guyana's maritime authority said it was falsely flying Guyana's flag. And the larger context, a dark fleet ecosystem already used for sanctioned crude flows. This isn't just paperwork drama. In blockade-style enforcement, nationality and identification are the battleground. Because if a ship is stateless or falsely flagged, it becomes far more vulnerable to boarding and seizure under maritime enforcement logic. Skipper wasn't just leaving with oil, it was leaving with a target on its hull. Now the tempo spikes. One report described the seizure taking place not where the ship appeared to be on tracking platforms, but hundreds of miles away. A classic signature of deception, delay, or data unreliability in maritime tracking. If you're running a ghost ship playbook, that's the advantage. You make the world argue about your location while you keep moving. But against a US interdiction package, satellites, maritime patrol aircraft, shipborne radar, signals intelligence, and boarding-capable forces, ghosting only works until it doesn't. And then it's loud. Mid-December, pre-dawn rhythm. A US surface asset is nearby, likely Coast Guard or Navy in a supporting posture. The exact platform not publicly spelled out in detail across initial reporting. Then the air package arrives. According to reporting carried by ABC News, commandos fast rope from helicopters onto the vessel during the seizure operation. Fast roping onto a commercial tanker is not a casual event. Rotor wash blasts the deck. The ship's superstructure creates wind turbulence. Deck crew visibility is poor. Any resistance risks catastrophic escalation around fuel, machinery spaces, and confined corridors. This isn't a search, it's a take control sequence. Secure the bridge. Isolate communications, control engineering spaces, account for crew, stabilize navigation. And once the bridge is held, the ship is effectively yours. A ship like Skipper isn't a speedboat. Depending on load and sea state, think low to mid-teens in knots, not racing. The run isn't about outrunning a warship. It's about outrunning jurisdiction, identification, and decision-making. Get far enough from the coast to complicate the political optics. Make ownership hard to prove. Keep the cargo documentation ambiguous. Bet that nobody wants to be first to escalate. But the US move signaled the opposite. Washington was willing to be first. And that's what transforms a single interdiction into a broader blockade posture. So did Skipper challenge the blockade? In practical terms, yes. Because the ship was operating like part of the sanctions evasion ecosystem and attempted to move a major crude cargo in the exact window when the US was escalating enforcement from sanctions on paper to enforcement at sea. And the US response created a precedent. This isn't just tracking and naming, this is boarding and seizing. That's why shipping behavior changed almost immediately. A P reported vessels diverting, loitering and altering course after the blockade threat, precisely because the risk calculus shifted from fines and insurance headaches to actual interdiction. Once a seizure happens, ghost fleets don't stop. They mutate. Common countermeasures include flag swaps and paper re-registrations, renaming, repainting, fresh hull markings, legalizing routes by routing through third-party jurisdictions, tighter ship-to-ship transfer discipline, deliberately blending with dense maritime traffic to complicate targeting. And yet Reuters reporting warned more than 30 sanctioned ships near Venezuelan waters could be at risk after the Skipper action, meaning the US wasn't treating it as a one-off. That's blockade logic, not a ship, but a system. Here's where the documentary lens zooms out. A seized tanker is a floating asset, but it's also a broadcast. To ship owners, you can be touched. To insurers, raise rates or walk away. To traders, your barrels are now liability. To Caracas, your revenue stream is interdiction ready. To allies and rivals, this is coercion by maritime control. The Wall Street Journal described Venezuelan shipping largely stalling after the seizure, with exceptions tied to licensing, like Chevron's operations. That's pressure with a valve: punish sanctioned flows, keep permitted flows moving, and force Caracas into a narrowing channel. Meanwhile, Reuters reported Venezuelan crude exports dropping sharply in the wake of the seizure and escalating actions. The ghost ship didn't just get caught, it triggered a chain reaction. Reuters reported the seized tanker Skipper was heading toward Houston after the action, signaling US intent to physically control not just the vessel, but the cargo and legal process that follows. And then came the political capstone, the blockade declaration of sanctioned tankers, turning maritime interdiction from an episode into a declared posture. Strategic implications are immediate: escalation ladder risk. More boardings mean more chances for miscalculation. Economic shockwaves. Oil prices react, shipping premiums spike, vessels hesitate. Shadow fleet innovation. Evasion tactics will intensify, not disappear. Regional security pressure. Caribbean and Northern South America become a more militarized maritime space. And if this continues, the next ghost ship won't just be hiding from sanctions, it'll be testing rules of engagement. A ghost ship tried to move oil through a tightening net, and the US answered with helicopters, boarding teams, and a policy shift that reads like a warning shot across the shipping world. The sea lanes around Venezuela just got a new reality. Sanctions aren't only written, they're enforced. Bye for now.